Welcome to the Variety Podcast. Mike Valente here with Stephen Hanbury. Steve, what's crack-a-lackin'?
Jesus, it's going to be a good show. If there's any episode that will define the Variety Podcast, it will be today.
By the way, I just want to get this out of the way. If everyone listening to this hears me going like this throughout the show, it's because there somehow is about 1,000 fruit flies around me at this moment, and I'm killing them like every 10 seconds. It's insane.
And speaking of blowing out, the power blew out at the Superdome.
How many puns were made last night?
It was pretty bad. I mean, Beyonce's performance was electrifying.
I'll tell you a quick story about my nonna. I used to go over to her house when I was little, and I'd have the wrestling on. She would watch it with me, and if anyone recalls watching WWE wrestling back in the day, there used to be this really fat Hawaiian wrestler named Rikishi, and he wore this like thong thing, so his ass was like hanging out, and his like finishing move would be getting his opponent into the corner turnbuckle and like rubbing his ass all over his face. It's terrible. But when my nonna saw this, she started laughing so hard, and she said, "Hey, look at the prosciutto."
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion, and I know it'll probably be an unpopular one, but I wouldn't boo Justin Bieber if I was there. I'm not a fan of his music necessarily. Sorry, I'm not a fan of his music. But this is an 18-year-old kid playing in front of his home crowd. I mean, what were you doing at 18? I don't even remember. Probably nothing.
I don't have the craziest Halloween stories just because I'm allergic to peanuts. So when I went trick-or-treating, I would come home and kind of sort my candy for the stuff I could have.
How much did you actually get to keep?
Well, there was a lot of candy. There were the fuzzy peaches and the
the sugar
berries,
candy.
The sugar candies.
But I guess you had to end up throwing a lot of it away.
No, I gave it to my sister.
Oh, what a good brother.
Thank you very much. She doesn't see it that way, but thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, like when Napster got shut down, remember what came after Napster was Kazaa for a bunch of years, or Kazaa, however you say it.
How did you say it?
I said Kazaa, but I also say
Kazaa.
I also say Keysnose, so it's probably wrong. It's probably Kazaa.
And you also say Wikipedia.
I say Wikipedia.
What's wrong with you? We noticed that this week we had 4 listens from Russia. Moscow was listening to our show. Now, I'm not sure if it's downtown Moscow or the GMA, the Greater Moscow area. So thanks, guys. I hope you were drinking some vodka while listening to our show. Some people have told me they need to drink vodka to listen to our show. The IKEA monkey. It was crazy, I think, how much attention this story got. And what I thought was most amazing is that he actually managed to find his way out of an IKEA. So Mrs. Nakuda, the owner, apparently isn't allowed to visit Darwin because he's now at a primate care facility. And
the PCF, you know.
PCF, yes, that's right. I think we have a live hookup to the primate care facility. Let's go there now. Can we listen in? All right, well, we can't really hear much there. That's literally monkeys going apeshit, Steve. These monkeys were going apeshit.
Oh my God.
I haven't laughed this hard since I was a little girl. Now listen. In the debate, what I thought when Obama looked Romney right in the eye and said that the mere suggestion of anyone on his team would play politics when 4 Americans were killed in Benghazi is offensive. When he said that, I think that really revealed a side to Mitt Romney that people didn't want to see and people didn't want to believe.
If he said something during the primaries and said something different during the election, well, people would say he's lying. But how would you know which one is the lie? Right?
Exactly.
Do you think maybe he really feels the way he did during the primary and now is lying? Or maybe he was lying during the primaries and now he's telling the truth? So that's what I think confused a lot of people, is no one really knew when he was telling the truth.
Joining us to speak about the U.S. presidential election is morning news anchor from Cornwall, Ontario, May Habib.
Whereas in the U.S., politics is so huge, so polarizing. You're either Republican or you're Democrat. You like guns or you don't. You support abortion or you don't. It's so black and white, it's almost bred into children.
But let's move from some hot air, perhaps from Mitt Romney, to the lack of oxygen. How about that for a segue?
There you go.
Earlier on the weekend, we had Felix Baumgartner dropping out of space. You know, the emotion of that risk really takes over your body, I think. And although we weren't in space like Mr. Baumgartner, I think we certainly felt like we were, and it was such a thrill to watch. It was really compelling and terrifying all at the same time.
And it's one of those events that television makes perfect use of. You know, obviously I wasn't around for it, but I know my parents talk about, you know, where they were when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and you know, it obviously didn't have the same weight of that, but you could tell like the world was watching in that same fashion.
Lance Armstrong. I don't know how he sleeps at night, honestly.
Not with Sheryl Crow.
Not even. Yeah. Nice. He's not soaking up the sun anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Ew.
Former TSN Sports Center anchor Holly Horton joins us on the line now.
The sport of cycling to me is kind of a joke. If 95% of the cyclists out there are doping, theoretically, doesn't that make him still the best?
People outed him for lying about doping, and then he has the guts to...
Were you going to say the ball?
I actually was, which is horrible.
We're all going to hell.
I know. Imagine if you're that ref in Seattle, and the call on the field is a touchdown. Imagine if on Monday night, the winning touchdown, you now have to announce to the crowd that the call on the field was reversed, which would have been the right call. But if you're a first-time referee, probably his first Monday night game, that's got to be intimidating.
I think it would be an absolute shame to not only just lose this season, but honestly, I don't think markets in the southern United States like Florida and Phoenix, taking an entire year off, how can you risk losing that fan base when it's been so hard to kind of make them love the game already?
From a labor negotiation standpoint, okay, baseball's gone a long time without a strike or a lockout. But look at player salaries in Major League Baseball. Is that really where the NHL wants to go?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm Gary Bettman, I'm worried about that.
For me, for the Leafs, as a Leaf fan, I don't think the Leafs are going to tank this season. I think they're going to fall flat on their face to begin with. So it's not so much the tanking at the end, but the falling on their face in the beginning. Canadian actress, TV host, writer, and comedian Carla Collins joins the show. We're going to do a rapid fire segment with you. Chelsea Handler.
Well, I think it's great that she's doing so well. She won't have me on her show, so I think that she and I should get into the octagon, have a wicked cat fight, and then kiss. My friend said the thing about Chelsea Handler is that she seems like she's always drunk and it may or may not be pregnant.
What I want, and I think what many people want, is when they want to watch a show, they want to watch it right away. And if not right away, not to have this long process to get access to it. And I think that's something in 2013 that we shouldn't really be discussing. I think the future is now, and I think something like this Netflix proposal, if you will, I think it's a good thing, and it should be happening in 2013. We need something new.
There are going to be people out there that are not going to pay for the content no matter which way it's being delivered. And whether it's on premium cable, on broadcast network, or on Netflix, even $1 is too much for some people.
Yeah. I think it's really sad that it takes a natural disaster like Hurricane Sandy to actually happen, and only then is the debate about global warming really sparked and brought back to the forefront of discussion. The mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, said, while the increase in extreme weather we have experienced in New York City and around the world may or may not be the result of climate change, the risk that it might be, given this week's devastation, should compel all elected leaders to take immediate action. You think?
But the problem with climate change is that it's very reactionary on either side, I think. I mean, when you have a storm like this, you get all the people that, for lack of a better term, believe in climate change to say, this is climate change, this is proof we need to do something about it. And then all you need is one really cold storm in the middle of the winter to have the non-climate change people say, hey, so where's the global warming, right? And then in reality, this debate comes down to science and facts, right? And the science is that sea levels have risen in the last year. The science is that the global temperature, not a temperature in one city or another, or on one day or the next, is going up or down. It's trends over the course of years, over decades, over centuries.
It was the shooting massacre at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Part of the story was, during the rescue efforts and the emergency part of it, they were taking the children to the firehouse, which was next to the school. Mm-hmm. And basically the parents were coming to get their children, and they didn't even know if their children were in that firehouse. Each set of parents would come to the firehouse and collect their children, and there were parents that were showing up that day who didn't have a reunion.
The Second Amendment states that you have the right to bear arms. It doesn't say that you have the right to own a semi-automatic assault rifle. A baseball bat could count as arms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I find it somewhat frustrating that a lot of these constitutionalists hang on to this document like it's the Bible. I mean, this document was written in 1776. Times change. I think the amendments, if anything, show us that they served to amend a flawed document. When the Constitution was written, slavery was legal too, but obviously it's not anymore. Times change, and people sort of wake up to the awful things that sometimes is happening in the world. And the fact that so many people are clinging to this line in the Constitution that's over 200 years old, it's fine and great that you have the right to bear arms, but now you've taken away these children's right to live. So
there's just too many examples. It's a laundry list of examples and incidents.
Yeah.
20,000 people are dying because of guns. Mm-hmm. Something's got to change. All right, Steve, time for Stray Observations. That's right, it's time for Stray Observations. Hey, Steve, start us off.
There are 5 different shows about cupcakes on TV, but this is new. Nelson Mandela's granddaughters are starring in an upcoming reality show called Being Mandela. The show airs on the Cozy Network. That's right, COZI, Cozy Network. So get your Tier 7 cable package now. and revolves around Mandela's 2 granddaughters, Swati and Zaziwe, and the lives of being part of the Mandela family in South Africa.
It's official, the 90s are back, or at least a favorite fictional couple from the decade is. Ben Savage and Danielle Fishel are set to return as Corey and Topanga in the pilot of the Disney Channel Boy Meets World spin-off, Girl Meets World.
Did you watch that show in the 90s? I can't say I did, so
I did, and when I first heard about this, the first thing I thought of was the episode where they go away and they're in this chalet lodge or something, and Corey starts flirting with another girl, and then Topanga finds the note.
And it was a misunderstanding.
Yes.
One of those classic Fraser misunderstandings. Yeah. I have a question about the Postal Service. Now, apparently they're in a budget shortfall of $16 billion, right?
Yes.
Now, if they cut 1 day of service and save $2 billion, wouldn't it stand to reason that if they cut 7 days of service, so no service, they save $14 billion, they're still $2 billion short? I don't understand this company.
Hey, Monday is Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day.
I was wondering when that was.
Yeah. Mark it on your calendar. Start the poppin'. You can go ahead and enjoy the simple pleasure of popping the stuff that has protected millions of products over the last 53 years. That's right, it's this coming Monday, Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day on Stray Observations.
And he played on the fact that the only thing with the same colored hair as Trump is the orange-haired orangutan, and offered $5 million to charity.
Is it an orangutan or an orangutan?
It's tan.
Are you serious?
That's a myth that it's tang.
Orangutan.
Look at Wikipedia that stuff.
By the way, I just want to give a special shout out to our intern Douglas.
Oh, right.
Dougie. You remember Dougie? He was able to beat the cutoff date to get our human heads out before Christmas. So I hope the reaction from all of our fans was ranging from ah to ah.
Fun fact, I have the original Monopoly, and it says made in China, okay? I went to Peru a couple years ago. My family gave me a Peruvian edition of Monopoly, made in the USA. What?
Wow, okay. Also on my list that is kind of a notable mention, if you will, the show Girls.
Really?
Yes. Now, wait a minute.
Hold
on.
Okay, all right.
I knew this would
I
be...
thought we both agreed that we hated it.
Well, you know what? After the first one, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
But it should be a good interview. I'll be watching it since we're both living at home at the moment.
Yeah, I had to mention that.
It's funny because you sent me recommendation to watch a Letterman interview on the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Yes.
And I texted you back. I'm like, you're living at home when you even have the ability to watch the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Hi, I'm Mike Valente. I have a podcast, and I live at home with my parents. These goddamn fruit flies, mother!